The dream of Cruisers Academy was put into motion over a decade ago. At 21 years old, Brady cast off the lines and set sail to the South Pacific on Delos, while barely knowing how to sail at all. 5 years later, in 2016, some 40,000 nautical miles later, they had made it halfway around the world to Madagascar. This was the year my filmmaking had landed me my first job on a sailboat, sailing backpackers to and from Panama and Colombia. I slept outside in the rain every night for an entire summer to avoid the cockroach-infested bunks inside, and thought, wow, this is the life. I remember seeing my first cruisers, scrawny and tan as can be, crawling around their tiny sailboats that they called home. It was then that I realized I too wanted to make the ocean my home. The next year, I sent an email to some random YouTube sailing channel that a friend had shared with me. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to South Africa. My friends and family back home were either super confused what I was doing or scared for my life when I decided to sail across the Atlantic with a group of strangers from the internet. When Brady and I met, we clicked immediately, and the rhythms of our separate lives became one as we moved into a tiny cabin and set sail from Africa across the southern Atlantic to Brazil. What I thought would be a 3-month adventure turned into 3 years of living aboard Delos and sailing across the Atlantic 3 times. Every time new crew would hop on board, Brady and I realized how fun it was to teach them the ins and outs of sailing. So when the time came for us to get our own boat, we knew exactly what we wanted to do with it, and Cruisers Academy was born. While there are plenty of amazing perks that come with running a sailing school, it's also been incredibly stressful to run a business that's based on the weather cooperating and our small fleet of sailboats not breaking, because those two things just don't really happen.
Yeah, this has definitely been the most stressful sailing season I've had in probably, all my sailing life in 10, 13 years of cruising. There's a lot of aspects to that. It was a new boat that we were going cruising with, new to us, so we hadn't cruised on Lintika yet. We're a new business, and starting this offshore program is really, really important, so that was a huge stress on it. Just so many things compounded that I don't even know if I can go into, but very emotional roller coaster.
It's definitely been a major strain on mine and Brady's relationship, but in a weird way, we made it through the hard parts, and I think ultimately that made us so much stronger.
To be out on the other side, I feel stronger as a captain, stronger as a boyfriend, stronger in a lot of different ways. So it was like being thrown into the fire and really coming out the other side good.
Great. So proud of you. I love you.
Love you too. What a season.
Wow, it's been an adventure. We're like a few years into this business now, and we've learned a lot. It's actually really crazy to think about when this started. It was just us and a few kids with a tiny wooden boat in Tahoe before we really knew that we were gonna go down this path and this journey, and then a lot has happened to us since then, so it's cool to look back on and reflect on. I counted it up the other day. I think we've taught like 500 people how to sail so far in a few years, which feels really special because each person is unique, and we've met a lot of people that we otherwise wouldn't have crossed paths with. So it's super fun to have people out on the boat, and it's kind of human nature to get jaded by how special this life is, and to have fresh people on board all the time that are so excited to catch the sunrise or see things and experience things for the first time. You kind of get to see it from their point of view. So yeah, it's cool to follow people along their sailing journey for sure. I wanted to share a little behind the scenes of the other half of what makes up our YouTube channel. This is my editing den up in Tahoe, and I just got home from Mexico. So I usually really struggle with the transition from boat life to kind of really productive computer life. But this week, for the first time, I tried Magic Mind, and I was pleasantly surprised that I actually really noticed a difference in my ability to focus and get creative. This super easy little shot of goodness requires zero prep and has one of my favorite things, matcha, which is kind of nature's time-released version of caffeine, but without the crash that coffee can often bring. It also has some vitamins and cordyceps to boost my immunity and reduce inflammation, which after traveling for me is crucial to getting back to this side of things. Check out the link in the description to give Magic Mind a try. They even have a guarantee that if you don't love it, they'll give you a full refund, no questions asked. All right, back to the episode.
You want me to start?
Oh, yes, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure. Oh, you little sweetie pants.
Gonna hug?
Aww.
Nuts. Give you nuts, brother.
Nuts for sure.
You make me cry, babe.
Well, you're too close, so you can hug.
Aw, Glenn.
At the end of these trips, we like to do a little high-low buffalo action. So we go around and say our high from the week from the trip, our low from the week. Could be whatever it was. Didn't sleep good or spicy food. I don't know.
Right.
Here's how I'll sum it up. Like, I kept thinking about, like, the Blue Peter flag is like an old nautical flag. It's like a blue square with like a white square in the middle, and like the essence of this trip for me, how it kind of felt was like they fly that flag when a ship is leaving harbor, and it kind of felt for me like that this trip. Like,
Cool.
yeah,
I think that's your tattoo.
yeah, yeah, right? Like a ship leaving harbor, like the start of something.
The high is the whole trip, you know? Kind of from the people. Like, what a cool thing. Like, I could be your dad. I'm serious, right? And the way we all work together, you know? Like, thank you for allowing us to work. And, you know, I don't know. It was like this mix between, I know you're working, right? But it also felt like we were all a crew together. And that's pretty unique. You know what I mean? I mean, you can do train the trainer stuff and all that kind, but this didn't feel like that, you know? So that was a high, just the inner workings of everyone allowing space and to be who you are. Like, that was just really cool. That's like super high. The takeaway is, like, sailing is just beautiful. That to me is a big takeaway, is like, go do this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's very doable, which is cool.
Probably just the completion of my first like cruising trip.
Yeah.
You know, because I've done sailing on my own boat, but I've never gotten to like cruise.
Yeah.
So I would say that's probably the high. Definitely now know I'm ready to take off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I love that. I'm so excited for you. It's so cool to be able to watch your journey from here, you know?
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah, come January,
Yeah.
you're going to be sending us some selfies like you're out there.
Oh,
Yeah. Super cool.
Let's see. Buffalo. 5 people and a dog, pretty comfortable on a 42-foot boat. Surprising. It still surprises me. Like, are we crazy? Does this really work? And it does. Yeah. I think it comes down to like the right people and being respectful of each other's space, being clean, good communication, and that's it. But it just shows how much you can do with not a huge boat, right? That's one of the reasons I really love running these trips on Lintika, is because this is the boat that's like an attainable cruising boat, right? The same one that you're looking at buying. It's not like a 60-foot yacht where we're packing 8 people in, and it's not like a real cruising experience. It's actually like a 42-foot boat is what people go cruising on. So it's cool to see it fall together and work.
Our season was coming to an end, but we had one more course to run that would take us from Baja over to San Carlos on the mainland side of Mexico. Where are we, Brady?
We're in Baja and Espiritu Santo. Pretty cool from this spot. I can see straight through a bunch of cactus, some white sand, and turquoise water and some sailboats. Beautiful, and behind us is like massive red rock canyons.
Even though we'd be keeping Lintika in the Sea of Cortez for a while, it was hard to leave Baja behind. This 800-mile peninsula had been so good to us, and we felt like we were just starting to scratch the surface of everything she had to offer. If you've enjoyed our videos from the Sea of Cortez and are intrigued to check it out yourself on Lintika, we have our itinerary of courses and passages for next season live on our website. Whether you've never sailed or are prepping for your own cruising adventure, our customizable curriculum can meet you wherever you're at and get you closer to your sailing goals. We've also run our first few women's-only courses that have been a huge success, so we're going to continue to grow this program and are stoked to be getting the ladies trained up and more confident out on the water. After an overnight sail across the sea, we arrived to San Carlos, where we decided to keep Lintika for hurricane season, because being a bit further northeast reduced the chances of a hurricane reaching her. The dry storage yard had a great reputation, and overall it would be about 70% cheaper to store her in San Carlos than it would anywhere in the Baja Peninsula. It was also beautiful over here, and it felt like a great place to spend some time.
Now we're getting Lintika ready to be hauled out, put in storage for the summer, which is crazy because when we left the bay, it just seemed so far away, and now it's here. So what a beautiful, incredible season.
And we have some of our crew from the last trip that are here helping us, thank God. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Just, it's a lot of sentimental moments. Like every time I step down in the Lintika, I'm like, oh, I don't want to leave her yet.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
It is, yeah.
So there's about 30 things on the list to do before we take her out of the water and put her on the hard. One job I want to get out of the way on day one is my best friend Blue the Head. For storage, I want to take apart the macerator and make sure there's no hair or shit or stuff stuck in there. Just get it really clean. It's not that bad. There's definitely some hair and some stuff wrapped around the shaft and the macerator, but I've seen much worse. So I'll get all that shit out of there and then put it back together. And then we'll store it with, I'll run vinegar through the whole system, vinegar sitting in the lines, and then I usually put some olive oil on the top of everything just to seal the air in and like make sure nothing dries out. So this is both a cleaner and a pickling agent. So I'm gonna mix this whole entire thing with about 15 liters of water according to the instructions, which, I don't know, close to a 5-gallon bucket, something like that. And then I will suck that all into the water maker in the membranes, and that'll sit in the membranes for the next 5 or 6 months until we come back. I'm ready to go. I'm changing the oil. So you never want to leave used oil sitting in the bottom of the engine. What happens is there's a bunch of chunks of metal, or not chunks hopefully, but there are shavings and things that sit in the oil, and eventually they will start to make your oil very bad. So we're pulling all the old oil out so that way the gears and everything sit in fresh oil while we're away. And now we're doing the fuel system. So there's 2 ray cores on this boat. It's really cool. So if one gets really dirty or if you have really bad fuel, you can flip this switch and it can go straight to the other ray core. So you don't constantly have to go through 2 ray cores, you just flip it from one to the other. But I'm gonna switch both of them out now so they're both ready to go with clean filters and new O-rings. All right, so the one thing I'm really worried about is the halyards sitting in the sun, the hot desert sun, not moving for 6 months. So they'll be okay, but to extend their life, we're gonna try and put as much of them in protection as possible. So this halyard here, we're gonna attach a line at the bottom, and then we're gonna pull it up to the top, and then we're going to coil everything nicely around the mast, and I'll probably wrap the mast with something protective. I don't know what yet. Something that'll help from UV protection. So most of the halyard that is in the mast will be exposed, but the other part is always exposed to balance it out, you know? You can see the line, the color difference in the line. Stuff that's exposed to sun and stuff that's not. So it'll make it more uniform a little bit. All right, next step, get the dinghy cleaned up and ready for storage. So we have it hoisted, took the outboard off, took the fuel tank out, have it hoisted on a halyard, and we are going to blast it. Blast away, Isa, blast. Yeah. Look at all that sand. I've been wanting to do this for like 6 months.
We can finally get the sails off. We've been trying to do it the last few days, but every day around noon it starts blowing like 20 knots and the wind is coming from the stern. So it's like 8 in the morning. It's a rare sighting of a Brady troutman before 9 a.m.
No!
out in the wild.
I already had breakfast and I had coffee.
Wow.
Yeah, we need to take all the canvas. Today's like an outside day, so all the sails down, the Dodger completely off, which I have mixed feelings about because it's there to protect everything from sun, but also the sun will damage the Dodger 6 months more than we need it to. And if a hurricane comes, it's a lot of windage. So
Yeah.
we're gonna take everything off. Then we'll take the dinghy off the davits, put it upside down on the deck. And we also need steel wool or screens to plug up our scuppers so rats and stuff don't climb up in there. And on the Dorads, to create some ventilation, we need to put screens or steel wool in those too, so that way we can still get circulation to the boat. We're gonna flake it, so we're gonna fold back and forth like an accordion, nice and slow, and then when we get to the battens, which are the hard, rigid fiberglass pieces in the sail, we're gonna take those out one by one.
Super grateful for Lintika, and yeah, I love her. I love her even more now.
Let's put her to bed.
Let's put her to bed.
She's going to storage for maybe 5-6 months.
See?
So we've spent the past 3 days working all day. The four of us really, we couldn't have done it without Lisa and Kyle, really.
Thank you guys so much.
You guys are amazing.
You're our boatwork angels.
Yes. We'll be putting her back in October if you're ready. They don't have a travel lift here because where they store your boat is like a mile down a regular public road.
Mm-hmm.
So they put it on a trailer. It's like a big trailer with hydraulic pads that hold the boat up. And I think they drive the trailer down under the boat and then they adjust the pads and slowly lift you out of the water, and then they pull the trailer up and drive it down the highway.
Crazy.
So I think, I don't know. Nice.
What?
I feel like super emotional. I feel like a little bit of tears and stuff.
Yeah.
She's like just a member of the crew, right? And it's like, you feel almost bad like you're abandoning somebody.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird feeling. It's an object, but it's like, yeah. Let's go.
Good. She gonna go rest. I know they do a great job here. They haul boats out all day, every day here, but it's just a little different. Like putting it on a trailer and driving it down a main road. Usually it's stressful enough watching them just, drive it through the yard. So it's interesting, but they're going nice and slow, and yeah, it's cool to see a new way that people do things.
For some reason, it feels better to me that it's on a trailer versus hanging in the air.
Yeah, I guess maybe
Like
that's
it can't
what's
drop
always weird about
any
it.
further. It can fall over, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's not gonna happen.
No, we're good.
Yeah.
So we just flushed the whole engine with fresh water and this salt away solution. I've never used this stuff before, but a lot of people have sworn by it that it's really good for not letting salt buildup happen when you're sitting on the hard for a long time. So we put a hose into the through hole where the engine water intake is, ran the engine for a few minutes to flush fresh water through the wet exhaust, poured a little bit of this into the sea strainer, let that filter through, and then turn the hose off, pump the water out, and then turn it off. She's full of fresh oil, full of coolant. We're ready to go.
Cool. We're tin foiling the windows, which is funny, but I don't know. People also recommended that we do this just to keep, it just gets so much sun damage and heat down here. So we're giving it a go. She's all kinds of packed up.
This is my favorite time of year in Tahoe, with like springtime, because it's like everything just comes to life. There's rivers everywhere, all the flowers are coming out, it's finally warm, it's like 70 degrees today. So I feel pretty good to be back. It's been a great couple weeks being home. I think we're gonna get to ski or snowboard a couple more times this season too, and try and ski and snowboard and then go sailing on the same day.
the past couple years in Tahoe, we've been teaching on Catalina 22s, which are incredible, amazing, trailable boats to learn on. But this year we've changed it up a little bit. We want to do a little bit more advanced stuff on Tahoe that's a little bit closer to bigger boat cruising style stuff. So we now have a Catalina 26 and a Catalina 27, which is kind of the best of all worlds because they're still responsive and small enough to learn on and get that feel you get from a 22, but they're just big enough to start having normal systems that you're going to find on a cruising boat. So the head and a galley and the rigging and furlers and everything is just the perfect size that's a template for the boats moving forward as you go on to bigger and bigger boats. So I'm really excited this year to get those boats dialed in and spend more time sleeping out on the boats and exploring and living aboard a little bit on Lake Tahoe, which is going to be really fun.
If you want to come sail with us in Tahoe this summer, this 4-day course is super fun and packed with heaps of information. It really is the sailing course we wish we could have taken before we jumped on boats and learned everything the hard way. They run in June and July, and the dates can be found on our website. To get back to the question of this video, is the sailing school working? I think we can finally say yes. For us, it's perfect. We reached the goal of having a Tahoe chapter to scratch our mountain itch, and also an offshore chapter where we can enjoy life at sea and continue to travel. Our team of amazing captains is growing slowly but very steadily, and yes, we are saving up for a bigger boat in the future when the time is right. Another project that's been in the works for years and has finally kicked off is that we started a nonprofit. The goal of it is to increase access for all to the healing powers of nature that sailboats bring us so close to. So we'll share more about that soon. While this video wraps up our Mexico season, we have a new series coming out in a couple months about a liveaboard dive trip in Micronesia, which I am so excited to edit and share with all of you. The footage from Palau is breathtaking. Until then, thanks for watching.